Sophie White has to say.
She was good. I think we play differently when she's on the floor, and so again, learning how to play with her in the action. I thought she was good. I thought she didn't force anything. She played with great intention, and everything that she did was in the flow. She was communicating at a high level. I mean, if we're talking about the shot making, like that's going to come. They play her differently in the W than they do in international basketball, and so we've just got to find ways to free her up to get her some easy looks.
Listen to what she just said. We've got to find ways to free her up to get her some easy looks. This is heading into Caitlin Clark's third season in the WNBA, her third season, and the head coach is just now realizing they need to scheme easy shots for their superstar. That statement right there reveals a coaching problem that's been festering since day one. Because here's what Stephanie White isn't telling you. This isn't a new issue. They knew from game one of Clark's rookie preseason how defenses were going to guard her. 94 feet of pressure, face guarding, denying the ball before it even crosses half court. Every single team in the league threw that at her. The Connecticut Sun did it, the Dallas Wings did it, the Las Vegas Aces perfected it. And now, after 2 full seasons and an entire offseason to prepare, we're hearing, we've just got to find ways. That's not a plan, that's an admission.
With you guys today, don't overreact, it's just preseason. Don't overreact, it's just game 1. Don't overreact, they haven't seen their bye week yet. And then before you know it, it's week 17 and your favorite football team is out of the playoffs. Don't overreact, the season just started. Don't overreact. Wait until after the All-Star break. And then before you know it, they've played 82 games and your favorite team sitting home during the playoffs. Folks, it's okay to overreact.
He's absolutely right about this. The don't overreact crowd will kill momentum faster than anything else in sports analysis. Because here's what happens every single season. Fans see legitimate problems in preseason, they voice concerns, and immediately get hit with, "It's only preseason, relax." Then it's game 1 and the same issues appear. Don't overreact, it's just one game. By week 20, those same problems have cost the team home court advantage, and suddenly everyone's asking why nobody said anything earlier. People did say something, they were just told to shut up and wait. The Indiana Fever are a perfect case study. Caitlin Clark's rookie season showed clear schematic issues with how they utilized her off-ball. Christy Sides had her setting screens like she was a role player instead of the engine of the offense. Fans pointed it out immediately. Don't overreact, she's a rookie, give it time. Year 2 arrives, new coach, same problems appearing in preseason. And what's the response going to be? Exactly what he said. Don't overreact, wait for the regular season. Then wait for 20 games, then wait for the All-Star break, and suddenly you've played 44 games and you're fighting for a playoff spot instead of competing for a championship.
How many times have we heard her say, quote, "We have to find ways to get her the ball. It's getting old." She doesn't do well off ball, and seeing her setting screens was sad to me. She thinks they could go to the no true point guard bullshit they are doing in the NBA, which does not work. Steph White is responsible for the 94 feet face guarding in possession. She started all with Connecticut, then other teams started doing it. Now she wants to take the easy way out and take the ball out of...
That comment section response nails the core frustration. Stephanie White was the coach in Connecticut when they pioneered the face guarding strategy against Caitlin Clark. She saw it work, she implemented it, she knows exactly how effective it is at disrupting Clark's rhythm. So the fact that she's now coaching Clark and acting surprised that defenses play her differently in the WNBA versus international basketball, that's either disingenuous or it's coaching malpractice. You can't have it both ways. You can't be the architect of the defensive blueprint against a player and then claim you're just now figuring out how to counter it when she's on your team. And here's the deeper issue. International basketball doesn't allow the same physical defensive pressure. FIBA rules create more space, more freedom of movement. Stephanie White knows this. Every coach in the league knows this. So when she says they play her differently in the W than they do in international basketball, she's stating the obvious while avoiding the real question, what have you been doing this entire offseason to solve a problem you helped create?
Wait and see for 20 games, and then we'll start overreacting. Well, by the time it's 20 games, well, then it's too late. Then we're 6 games back of home court advantage. Then we're 1 game out of 6th place. Then we're 2 games out of 8th place. don't sit on your hands. You want to stomp and scream? By all means. This is a safe space. Stomp and scream. Caitlin Clark! Loving herself some Sophie Cunningham. Oh, Sophie the trophy. Folks, did y'all see this? Did y'all see Sophie the trophy obliterate this woman during this screen right here? Look at this. Caitlin Clark bringing it up. Boom! Sophie Cunningham putting her on her ass. Putting her on her ass, and then out of nowhere, well, not out of nowhere, but Caitlin Clark recognizes, oh, she's on her butt. We got a 3-on-2 right here. Let's take advantage and get a quick bucket. Look at this. Sophie Cunningham, boom, putting her on the ass. CC to Sophie, Sophie to Kelsey, Kelsey step back, pull up, bang. Oh, I love to see it.
Now watch this sequence carefully. This is what competent screening looks like. Sophie Cunningham absolutely obliterates that defender, creates a 3-on-2 advantage, and Caitlin Clark immediately recognizes it and attacks. That's basketball IQ meeting physicality. That's what happens when players understand their roles and execute with intensity. Sophie puts the defender on the floor, Clark sees the numbers advantage, hits Sophie cutting to the basket, and Kelsey Mitchell finishes with a step-back 3. That's a perfectly executed possession that started with a bone-crushing screen. And here's why this matters in the larger context. Sophie Cunningham is playing for a contract this season. She signed a 1-year deal with Indiana in free agency. She's got 12 months to prove she deserves a significant payday next summer. That means every screen matters, every defensive possession matters, every loose ball matters. Players on contract years bring a different level of intensity because their financial future depends on it. The Fever need that energy, especially when their offensive scheme for their best player seems to be, we'll figure it out eventually.
One of the questions she faced was about Cunningham, who recently signed a 1-year contract with the Fever and WNBA free agency. I actually believe that this was before the game, but her comments still remain the same. I think the thing I appreciate about Sophie more than anything is like she's never intimidated by the moment, Clark said. She rises to the occasion every single time. She's going to have her teammates' backs, and when our backs are against the wall, she's one of the loudest voices out there fighting and scrapping. No matter the situation, whether we're down 20 or up 20, it's the same Sophie. Every team in this league would probably love to have a player like that. I'm really fortunate she's on our side. Sophie's also just a really cool person, a good soul, Clark continued. But when she steps on the floor, she's fierce, she's fiery, and she's going to do anything to help our team win. That's what I really appreciate about her. Sophie Cunningham, she's playing for a contract this year. Make no mistake about it.
Listen to how Caitlin Clark describes Sophie Cunningham. She's never intimidated by the moment. She rises to the occasion every single time. When our backs are against the wall, she's one of the loudest voices out there fighting and scrapping. That's not generic teammate praise. That's specific appreciation for a specific type of player. Clark values toughness. She values competitiveness. She values someone who's going to set a screen like the one we just watched and put a defender on the floor without hesitation. And then she adds this. Every team in this league would probably love to have a player like that. I'm really fortunate she's on our side. Think about that statement. Clark is essentially saying Sophie Cunningham is the kind of player every championship team needs. The enforcer, the tone setter, the player who does the dirty work that doesn't show up in highlight reels but absolutely shows up in winning basketball. Indiana needed that presence desperately last season. They got pushed around physically. They got out-toughed in crucial moments. Sophie Cunningham addresses that problem immediately.
College games. Oh, that's right. You were watching the tournament. Oh, that's right. You were going on this interview. Oh, that's right. You were doing anything but putting your energy into how do we get Caitlin Clark easy looks? How do we get her open shots? Because they guard her differently. We knew they guarded her differently. Game 1 of her rookie season in the preseason. We saw that they were going to guard her differently. Against the Dallas Wings on WNBA League Pass. We knew they were going to guard her differently. Game 1 against the Connecticut Sun. Against your Connecticut Sun, Stephanie White. Yeah, we knew they were going to guard her. So here we are heading into year 3, and we just, they guard her differently.
Here's the fundamental question that Stephanie White needs to answer, and she needs to answer it before the regular season starts. If you know Caitlin Clark gets face guarded 94 feet, if you know defenses deny her the ball relentlessly, if you know she's the focal point of every opposing game plan, what is your systematic solution? Not, we've got to find ways. What are the actual ways? What are the specific actions you're running to free her up? What are the screen sequences? What are the misdirection plays? What are the off-ball movements that create confusion for defenders? Because here's what happened in the preseason game. Clark had to create every shot herself. One-on-one isolation, no designed actions to get her open looks, no elevator screens, no Spain pick and rolls, no pin downs into immediate ball screens, nothing that resembled a coherent offensive system built around maximizing your best player's strengths. She missed shots, yes, but were they quality shots created by good offensive design? Or were they contested shots she had to manufacture through individual brilliance? The answer matters a lot. Let's talk about what easy looks actually means in the context of an elite guard who gets face guarded. It doesn't mean wide open threes. Those don't exist for Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. Defenses are too smart and too committed to preventing them. Easy looks means creating advantages through movement and screening that force defenses to make choices. It means using Clark as a screener to get her defender caught in traffic, then immediately flipping into a ball screen where she's coming off with a head of steam. It means running her off multiple staggered screens on the weak side while the ball is on the strong side, forcing her defender to fight through contact and arrive late to the catch. It means Spain actions where she sets a back screen for the roller, then pops out for a three while the defense is rotating to cover the rim. These are schematic solutions that championship teams use for their best players. The Golden State Warriors built an entire offensive system around creating easy looks for Stephen Curry, who faces similar defensive attention. They don't just say, "We've got to find ways." They run specific actions dozens of times per game. Elevator screens where two screeners close like elevator doors. Delay actions where Curry sets a screen then immediately receives one. Iverson cuts where he uses a double screen and reads how the defense plays it. These aren't complicated NBA-level schemes that don't translate to the WNBA. These are fundamental basketball concepts that require practice time, repetition, and commitment. So when Stephanie White says we've just got to find ways to free her up, the immediate follow-up question should be, what ways have you installed? What have you been working on in practice? What actions did you rep 50 times a day during training camp, specifically designed to get Caitlin Clark quality looks against face-guarding defense? Because if the answer is, we're still figuring it out, that's a problem, a massive problem. You had an entire offseason. You knew what defenses were going to do. You've seen the blueprint for 2 years, and you're still in the figuring it out phase? Compare that to how other elite coaches handle their stars. Becky Hammon schemes constantly for Aja Wilson and Kelsey Plum. Sandy Brondello built an entire system around Brianna Stewart's versatility. Cheryl Reeve maximizes Nafisa Collier through constant movement and screening. These coaches don't wait to find ways, they install ways, they drill ways, they execute ways. And when something doesn't work, they adjust immediately with new ways. That's the difference between championship coaching and hoping things work out. The preseason is supposed to be where you test these concepts, where you try different screening angles and see what creates the best spacing, where you experiment with timing and reads, where you build the foundation that you'll rely on when games matter. If the Fever are using preseason to realize they need to create easy looks for their best player, they're already behind. They should be using preseason to refine the easy looks they've been designing since July. And here's what makes this particularly frustrating for Fever fans. They've seen this movie before. Christy Sides spent 2 seasons saying the right things about getting Caitlin Clark involved while running an offense that frequently left her standing in the corner. We need to move the ball more. We need to get everyone touches. We can't just rely on one player. All technically true statements that masked a fundamental failure to maximize generational talent. The hope with Stephanie White was that her experience, her basketball IQ, her understanding of the league would translate into smarter offensive design. But if we're hearing the same vague, "we've got to find ways" language, that hope starts to fade quickly. Look at what happened with Caitlin Clark in international play during the offseason. Team USA built specific actions for her. They used her in pick and roll as a ball handler. They ran her off screens as a shooter. They created opportunities for her to attack closeouts, and she thrived. Not because international defenses are worse, they're not, but because the offensive system created clean looks instead of forcing her to create everything from scratch. That's the blueprint. That's what Indiana should be replicating and expanding on. The comments section response about Stephanie White being responsible for the 94-foot face guarding strategy hits hard because it's true. When White coached Connecticut, they absolutely pioneered that defensive approach against Clark. They made her work for every inch of floor space. They denied her the ball relentlessly. They forced other players to beat them. And it worked. Connecticut had success with that strategy. Other teams copied it. It became the league-wide blueprint for defending Caitlin Clark. So the irony of White now coaching Clark and seeming unprepared for the exact defensive strategy she helped popularize, that's not lost on anyone paying attention. Which brings us to the larger question about coaching philosophy and adaptability. Great coaches adjust. They learn. They evolve. They take what they know from one context and apply it differently in another context. Stephanie White knows how to defend Caitlin Clark. That knowledge should translate into knowing how to attack the defenses that try to defend Caitlin Clark the same way. It's the same information, just viewed from the opposite side. If you know that tight ball pressure disrupts her rhythm, you should know that screening actions create space for her to receive the ball. If you know that face guarding denies her easy catches, you should know that backdoor cuts and misdirection create confusion. The defensive knowledge and offensive knowledge are two sides of the same coin. But maybe that's the problem. Maybe Stephanie White is such a good defensive mind that offensive creativity isn't her strength. Maybe her expertise is in stopping great players, not unleashing them. That would explain the disconnect between what she knows about defending Clark and what she's showing about maximizing Clark. Defensive coaches think about taking away strengths. Offensive coaches think about highlighting strengths. Those are different mindsets that require different approaches. And if Indiana hired a defensive-minded coach to lead an offense built around an offensive superstar, that's a fundamental mismatch that no amount of finding ways will solve. The Sophie Cunningham signing suggests Indiana understands they need toughness and physicality. That's a step in the right direction. But toughness doesn't replace scheme. Physicality doesn't replace offensive design. You need both. You need players who will set bone-crushing screens, and you need coaches who will draw up actions that make those screens devastatingly effective. Right now, Indiana has the players. The question is whether they have the scheme. And based on Stephanie White's preseason comments, that question doesn't have a reassuring answer yet. So here's what needs to happen before opening night. Stephanie White needs to install 3 to 5 bread-and-butter actions specifically designed to get Caitlin Clark quality looks against face-guarding defense. Not generic offense, not let's run our system and see what happens. Specific, repeatable, drilled actions that every player on the roster can execute in their sleep. Actions with multiple reads based on how the defense plays it. Actions that create advantages whether the defense goes under or over screens. Actions that punish aggressive ball denial by creating backdoor opportunities. That's the baseline expectation for coaching a generational talent. And if those actions don't exist yet, if the plan is still, we'll figure it out as we go, then Fever fans have every right to overreact. Because the window for championship contention is narrow. Caitlin Clark is in her prime right now. Sophie Cunningham is on a 1-year deal. Kelsey Mitchell could be a free agent soon. Aaliyah Boston is developing but needs support. This roster has pieces that could compete for a title if coached correctly. But if the coaching staff is still in the finding ways phase, while other teams have already found them, that window closes fast. The preseason is supposed to answer questions, not create new ones. It's supposed to show progress, not reveal the same old problems with different people. So the question for Indiana isn't whether fans should overreact to one preseason game. The question is whether the coaching staff has learned anything from 2 years of watching defenses suffocate their best player. Because if Stephanie White's answer is, we've just got to find ways to free her up, that's not a plan, that's a hope. And hope is not a strategy. Not in professional basketball, not when you're trying to win a championship, not when you have Caitlin Clark on your roster and a limited window to maximize what that means. So what's it going to be, Stephanie? What are the ways? Not the vague concept of finding ways, the actual ways. The specific actions, the schematic solutions. Show us you've done the work. Show us you've learned from what didn't work. Show us you understand the assignment. Because right now, all we're hearing is the same language that's been used to excuse mediocre offensive coaching for 2 straight seasons. And if that's all this is, new coach, same excuses, then yeah, fans should absolutely overreact. They should demand better. They should expect more. Because Caitlin Clark deserves a coach who has answers, not questions. She deserves a system that creates easy looks, not one that's still trying to find ways to create them. And Fever fans deserve to know whether this coaching staff is up to the challenge or whether we're about to watch another season of wasted potential.